Previously on Life on Batteries.
Maybe it's a small thing, but I miss being waterproof.
Being able to scuba dive again on a VAD is something I'd really like to do.
Figure out how to silicone your drive line into a pelican case.
Helps to have a doctor that dives.
Not that I meant to start it.
Pretty much the day when we started to talk about VADs, she said like, oh, I'm sure he wants to go diving somehow. And then
I remember the one where you did broachum.
Yeah? What did you think about that at the time?
we not only do it to keep you alive, also to give you quality of life. And as long as the patient understands the risk and it's carefully planned, I think then things can happen.
One of the things that I could contribute was a wearable water alarm. I wanted something that would vibrate when it sensed moisture.
As a diver all my life, I've heard people say no to people. And I've always looked at the opportunity to say yes.
It's been an 8-month process getting to the point of the first dive, so I'm far from nervous. It's just this huge sense of relief that we're actually doing it. Sweet. Oh, that feels good.
I think it was a great night. Something that I'll always remember. Yeah, and just swimming around with you. First time in over a year, really.
Going diving with my doctor.
Yes. Yes, he was a great sport about it.
You knew that everything was safe and everything had been so well planned that there wasn't a rush to hop out and check on things.
Feel good for a guy that's beeping.
We really just talked beforehand about having our own contingency plan in terms of making sure that we had backup equipment, making sure that we had our physician there and our coordinators there and the people who are competent in the devices and would be able to react if there was any type of an emergency.
Some PI events during the day.
But none underwater, right?
None underwater. Always good.
I knew it. I knew it. That's where I need to be.
First VAD patient diving worldwide, ever.
The possibilities are endless. You know, we need to have a brave team of people who can open those doors and go for it.
I'd like to see you back in the pool a couple more times and then do an open water dive. Show that it can be done.
Back in November of 2017, we made history, but performing the world's first confined water dive on mechanical circulatory support was far from an ending. My dive team and my medical team had together accomplished something that had never been done before, but that was just the first step on a long road toward diving open water.
Hey, how did it go?
Well, it's okay. I don't think a VAD patient should really enter the water that way. There's too much chance of getting water in the suit.
So maybe the seated controlled entry would be a better way to do it.
Like last time? Yeah. Or putting your gear on in the water. That's easier anyway. It's a little bit less physically demanding.
Especially when you have a buddy.
There was much still to learn, safe procedures and practices to develop and test, and new limits on time, depth, and distance to establish. All this before deciding whether recreational open water diving with an LVAD is even possible. It is, after all, recreational. The only benefit is quality of life. Like any other leisure activity, if it can't be done safely, there's no reason to do it. Thanks in part to mandatory training and certification, something that doesn't exist in most sports, scuba diving is pretty safe. The risk of fatality is about the same as driving. If we couldn't find a way to bring this level of safety to an LVAD diver, it would be foolish to continue. Things can go wrong in open water, and any dive plan, whether for regular divers or specifically for the needs of someone with an LVAD, needs to anticipate and control these events. Things can even go wrong in the pool, in 4 feet of water. We were reminded of that partway through the dive when I swam a little too close to a pool jet and a blast of water got past my neck seal. It wasn't a bad thing. That was what we were here for. We had planned for dry suit leaks since the beginning. This was our chance to test that plan. The moment it happened, the sensitive electronic leak detector I designed prior to the first pool dive began sounding. I signaled Ruth what was happening and that we should swim together back to the exit. The LVAD equipment had additional protection inside the suit, so it would be okay for quite a while, but this was the signal to end the dive. Rather than exit immediately, I decided to simulate an open water dive where we would need to continue swimming for a while to surface and get back to an exit.
Where's my emergency stuff?
It's right there.
No, the surface kit, the bag I carry.
It's over there.
I want to keep this stuff together. If there's an actual emergency, everybody has to be able to find it, and it has to be simple. I think we should make sure we do that in future dives.
That makes sense.
Okay. That should get me out of here.
Ready? How is it?
Well, it's wet around the neck, but it's pretty dry down here. It's nowhere near the LVAD equipment.
Good.
So it looks pretty good.
So that was what, about 5 minutes?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a very good thing. I want this not to be an emergency when this happens. I mean, it'll terminate the dive, but I don't want it to be an incident. So it'd be kind of like a free flow. You know, it's the end of a dive, but you know, it's within the training and the planning so that nothing serious actually happens.
A free flow is an equipment failure that happens in regular diving. It's when the regulator you're breathing from fails to full on and rapidly expels your air supply. All divers are trained to handle this situation and surface safely, so while it ends the dive, training and procedures prevent a dangerous incident.
So how are you for waiting?
It was okay. I was able to sink all right, but I know I had no air in the suit at all, and my BC was empty, so it was just on the edge.
So a few extra pounds might be a good idea next time.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. If I could put a little more air in the suit, the seals would work better too.
So the 3 main things we learned from LVAD Dive 2 were this. Number 1, the good news. It appears the LVAD equipment remains completely safe and dry, even 5 minutes after the suit was compromised. Our efforts to protect the LVAD electronics were working. Number 2, preferred methods of entry for LVAD divers should minimize the chance of getting water in the dry suit, and ideally also minimize physical strain on the LVAD diver. A controlled seated entry like Dive 1 or putting gear on in the water would both be good choices. And number 3, we need an emergency plan that makes it easy to respond in an emergency. It begins with keeping all the LVAD stuff, both surface and dive related, in a single, easy-to-find location. But there would be more to it than that. We decided to consult with Ken and Laura from the dive shop for additional ideas on making our plan.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good.
How are you? Good.
Ken liked the simplicity of an emergency plan where everything was in one place. He also suggested alerting the site's surface support, in this case the lifeguard, about what was happening and how to respond to it. Laura recommended diving in a team of 3 rather than the traditional buddy system of 2 to better manage an emergency if it took place. She suggested our dive team have a higher level of training too, rescue diver or above. We, in turn, took this a step further, specifying that our dive team have completed an LVAD orientation, learning about the differences between a conventional and an LVAD diver, and familiarizing themselves with the special equipment, both medical and dive-related, that's involved. This would mostly involve summarizing relevant parts of the LVAD course we received at the hospital, as well as covering differences in first aid procedures, activating emergency services, and so on.
So, what's the plan now? So we have to talk about it.
Okay. As for scuba, we had a meeting with the dive shop this summer, and we've worked out what they require for us to continue pool diving, and we basically added an additional rescue diver.
Mm-hmm.
But what I would like to do is I'd like to have the help of the VAD team again for an open water.
It's a very interesting situation because, like if you do something against recommendation, normally what we call is like non-compliance, and because of non-compliance, there are of course limiting steps what we would offer patient after it because of treatment. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and that's why we've been trying to go in through the front door.
Yeah. So for you, it's a little bit different because you're not really non-compliant, but you do something more for quality of life and not because you want to do something against doctor recommendation.
And we're hoping to learn something too, that so that this may be possible to do for others someday as well.
So when we met with the key players, and the key player I mean pretty much everyone.
Okay.
Up to the top. We try to find a way how we will handle the situation. So the compromise in the end is that there will be no team from Alberta Health Service, no team from the VAD program, but it's up to the people to go as a private person.
So individually, not representing
AHS.
You would, if we asked you to come, then decide if you wanted
exactly.
to come.
So it's, but this would be really
you wouldn't be restricted from attending, but you would be attending.
So it's in the end, it's an own person, not representing Alberta Health Service or the organization.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you still, as someone who is interested in Larrie as an individual, would you still be interested in doing something like this?
I think it depends a little bit, like the first thing. I want to see the dive plan. I want to know everything, what the plan is, where it is, how it is, and then I would decide at this point, and the same.
So and so like every time we have gone into the pool, we make a dive plan.
Yeah.
We plan out what we're doing. And share it with the dive shop. Share it with.
So how did you go more diving right now? Or
we have done one other
pool
Okay.
dive, and I want to do a third one because
Yeah,
there's
but we
several
wanted
things
to
we're
meet.
checking off our list so
Yeah.
that I can set limitations for the open water, or
Yeah.
at least propose limitations for you to look at.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we wanted
So,
to meet with you
yeah.
guys first
Yeah.
so that we knew where you guys
And,
were standing
Yeah.
before
and
we went further. Because
And we've had a similar situation with the dive shop and with the organizations that underwrite the dive shop. They've
Yeah.
needed to see what we're doing. We have to do it in a way that meets their standards. It's pretty, I guess, not all that unusual a thing for them because they work with disabled divers, and every situation is different. So they're open to that, and they do have standards that encompass that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and bottom line is we want this to be, as well documented as we can.
Yeah.
So that, if someone else somewhere else wants to try and do that, you can say, here's all the stuff, not you, but
Yeah.
we can say, here's all the stuff, you guys figure out if it's something that you want to pursue.
Yeah.
And that's what we're planning to do.
Yeah, and I think this
give
is.
them all the
I think
information.
this is. I think that's very important because not only for you, but also you never know what the future brings. But I think it's very important that you document what you did, that people
Yes.
can understand it.
Yeah.
Because it's it's of course for a lot of people very hard to understand why somebody who is on an artificial heart wants to go diving. Yeah, it's a little bit if I go climbing in the mountains, I hope that the rescue team would come and help me, but I also the rescue team will also not put themselves in a risky situation or use resources what is unreasonable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because in the end, it's me who put myself in there.
It was your decision.
Exactly, it was my own decision there, and I'm aware of it. I'm aware that they will do everything they can, and we will also do everything we can do. But there are, of course, limitations. Yeah.
Okay.
So, like I said, if something happened, and what I really talk about is if the pump would totally stop. Yeah. The likelihood that you would survive it is anyhow very low. Yeah, because to get you to the hospital with no pump function, and then that you're in the hospital still in a situation that we would anyhow do it, because sometimes when patients come in with an acute cardiac arrest, we would anyhow assess them first if we even would do it. What is the risk if the brain is injured and stuff like that. So I don't think that we talk about the extreme situation.
Okay.
That's what we talk about.
Okay.
It has to be understood that if something acute happened, that an acute pump exchange would be not an option.
Okay. Now, I have a question about that. That is in the instance that something occurred during the dive, right?
Yeah.
Would I be altering my access to healthcare in any way other than in the event of an acute event during the dive? For example, if I continue to pursue this and you come out on a personal basis and assist me with it, am I forfeiting any access to healthcare by simply doing that?
From our side, no. For what I would do, for me, I treat you 100% like all my other patients. And like I said, also, if something would happen, after the dive, not acute, we would always give you the benefit of the doubt.
Okay. No, it's my understanding that if my pump failed, I wouldn't have a lot of time to.
If your pump fails, it's because then in the end you have this retrograde backflow, so the blood
so there's no check valve in the
There's
pump.
no valve in it.
So even if my left ventricle is functioning reasonably
better,
well,
it will most likely pump in the other direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then most of the time when we stop pumps, we see about a few minutes.
Okay.
Because what happens is your ventricle is getting bigger and bigger, and then you get arrhythmia, and you will pass away.
Okay.
That's why we, in the end, feel comfortable to send patient further away than keeping them at Edmonton, because on one side we know the risk for a pump failure, what we cannot fix with a controller change, is very low. Yeah, the only real reason is often pretty much only if people cut the driveline, because there's nothing to do. But that the pump fails itself and it doesn't start again with a new controller is extremely rare. And on the other side, we also now, it doesn't matter if you are in Red Deer or in Edmonton, if the pump really stops and you cannot start it, the time to get you to the wire most likely is anyhow not enough.
Okay, that was my understanding, so that's thank you for clarifying that. What I have learned from speaking with the representative of the manufacturer when we did the controller change here, is that the controller is definitely what you would call robustly splash proof.
Yeah.
And I have seen personally that the driveline connection is O-ring sealed.
Yeah.
So that would be a concern to me as well. If this got splashed, did water get in on those contacts? And it likely will not. So at that point, you would do a controller change.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to know.
Yeah.
Just
and the controller change, this is of course can be the challenge, because you are underwater, and depending how deep you are, you will not shoot up, and you still have to get out of the dry suit.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's because normally, of course, we can do a controller change immediately. In a situation like this, you will be not able to do it. Yeah.
You have a limit. You have time.
Yeah.
More time.
And
it will take you more time to get to the controller and change it.
And there are a lot of situations in daily life where, honestly, where I think about that, how fast, when I'm in this situation, in this environment, can I affect a controller change? And that's one of the things we're thinking in our dive plan is I want to have a time limitation and a distance limitation from egress, as well as figuring depth.
But normally you don't have to do a 5-meter safety stop,
Well, and that's something that.
And that's the thing. We can actually limit an open water dive to the point where a safety stop is exactly that. It is additional safety if you have the option, but you will not get the bends by blowing the safety stop.
Yeah.
So we're not going to be doing decompression diving. We're not going to do anything where a deco stop would be mandatory.
Yeah.
We're not going far enough that an ascent at the maximum recommended speed would take too long. So these are all things that are figuring into what might become a maximum 25 or maximum 30-foot depth limit, and a distance from egress limit. And these are things that I've been pondering since I began the project for exactly that reason. How soon can we get me someplace flat where you can cut me the heck out of that and effect a change.
Cut depending on whatever's the fastest.
Yeah. If I've actually had a failure, I'm not going to be that cooperative. I'm going to be a lump. Yeah. So, so these are all things that we're thinking about.
Yeah.
And we can minimize risk by taking these little steps and making sure that we've got 2 or 3 scenarios to accommodate any eventuality. And that's the big thing. I don't want to get into a situation in diving that takes too long to get out of. But when you start examining daily life and you look at the places VAD patients are going without even thinking about it, you put yourself in situations on a daily basis where maybe you should be making those choices as well.
Yeah.
I think we overlook a lot of risk. We overlook more risk than we realize.
Yeah.
And what I would like to do is I would like to make this as safe as recreational diving is for an able-bodied diver, and I hope to do that by limiting some of the parameters that able-bodied divers are able to enjoy. Because if I can get in and I can play in 25 feet of water, I can still dive a dive park out at Twin Lakes. I can still do limited diving in places where it's safe. But there's other factors that have nothing to do with going underwater that figure into this.
Like you said, you can never make it 100% safe. But that's also not
And you'll never be able to do 100% of what an able-bodied diver could. But I mean, you know, for other divers under DDI, some of them never make it out of the pool. I mean, there's some that you can't even take to open water.
Yeah, we've trained them.
And if this ended today at being able to pool dive, I've done something cool that, you know, nobody else in the world has, and maybe others could do that. I'd like to explore limited open water diving, but if I don't like the looks of the risk factors when I get those answers, you're welcome to come dive with me in the pool anytime, but I'm going to call it before you know, before you have a chance to tell me I should be calling it. You know, because you know, it's honestly it's about doing this safely. I've got 97% of the life I had back, and you know, I'd like to hang on to that as long as I can. So it's not about being a daredevil, pushing the limits, you know, taunting anyone with non-compliance. It's I would like to learn more about this so that maybe we all can learn. Maybe there's safe things you can do within this, or safer things you can do within this that we don't realize at this point.
All right, sounds good. Unfortunately, I have another meeting we have to go on.
Okay.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you digging into this for me, and I admire you for pushing this all the way to the top.
I have to write something more.
Okay.
Yeah, we very much appreciate.
Oh
how
yeah,
much
you know, we talk about it when we go ice diving one day without a
Yes.
VAD. Yeah, you know, like I don't want to do it with a VAD.
Well, you can go with me. I'm certified.
Oh,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Ice diving is probably
It's
one of
fun.
the safest dives you'll ever do. You're going in on a rope and you're not going more than 20 feet from the entry.
Oh yeah, no, I would love ice diving. That's like one of the big things.
You've got your advanced, right?
I have my rescue actually. Yeah.
Okay,
That's
so
an
no
advanced,
problem. This
Very
winter we'll
good.
go.
Sounds good.
Hey, thank you very much. Thanks again for everything you've done for this.
Yes, both of you.
Okay, bye. We'll see you later.
Take care.
Clear at last on where we stood with our dive team and the LVAD team at the hospital, Larrie continued to research and prepare for open water. Some parts were going better than others.
Well, this is crap.
What's wrong?
Well, I'm trying to get information on operating this stuff under pressure.
You mean you haven't received a response?
Nope. There's nothing online. You can buy a hyperbaric chamber. Want one?
No, not really.
Yeah. Freaking Amazon has them. But not a thing about LVADs.
I don't know. I guess you can try emailing them again.
Can try, I guess. I'm often asked about my progress in pursuit of safely diving with an LVAD. Friends, both divers and non-divers alike, impatiently ask, "So, are you back in the water?" My answer, never the simple yes they were expecting, usually meets with disappointment as people seem perplexed by how long it takes to make any progress. I try to explain that it's not as simple as just jumping in a lake. Even once you're pretty sure you're safe, the medical and dive industry folks helping you have to be okay with it too. This is scary as hell for everyone with skin in the game, because when you're doing something that's never been done before, it can't go wrong, or the blame reflects back on everyone. Dive 3 was our chance to prove our plan was solid and that we were ready for open water. We began by notifying the lifeguard on duty of what we were doing, and the additional step of contacting an on-call VAD physician when activating EMS. Ruth reviewed the LVAD orientation with our third team member, an additional rescue diver, as planned. The goals for this dive were pretty simple. Apply what we learned from Dive 2, check my stamina and fitness to dive with a couple of scuba skills, and further test our provisions to protect the LVAD equipment in the event of dry suit leakage. We knew we were safe to 5 minutes. Our plan for this dive was to cautiously test it to 10. Knowing this would help us set depth and distance limits for an open water dive and ensure we had a good backup plan. Like everything to do with life support, safety increases greatly when multiple plans or systems are combined. Since that first night I jumped in the pool with an LVAD, I've wanted to try a regulator snorkel exchange while swimming. I was pretty sure it would go okay, so each time it was left until the end, and each time we ran out of time. Now, with other urgent questions answered, I was finally able to do it. What I was doing here was alternately taking a breath from my regulator, then my snorkel, each time purging them with the remainder of my previous breath to clear out the water. Add to this a slow swim across the pool and blowing a few bubbles during the exchange to maintain an open airway, and you've created a good number of restrictions on how and when you breathe. This is what intrigued me. Breathing is undeniably different since the LVAD, and I need to know just how comfortable I really am in the water. If I found this difficult, it might indicate I was less prepared to deal with problems underwater. The last thing on our list was the 10-minute leak test. Near the end of our first historic LVAD pool dive, I triggered a small leak in my neck seal. When we surfaced, we discovered the moisture was nowhere near the LVAD equipment, which was also additionally protected in plastic. During dive 2, we swam around for 5 minutes after a leak, and again, the LVAD electronics and driveline site were clean and dry. Encouraged by this, and by how the water alarm was detecting leaks within seconds, we were now ready to prove that even after 10 minutes underwater in an upright position, moisture from a neck seal leak would not travel further within the suit as to endanger the LVAD electronics. So we sat there on the bottom, and we waited.
That's the way that should go.
So how is it?
Well, it's good. It's alarming, but I mean, that was about 10 minutes. We sat down there. I feel wet around the neck, but I don't think it's creeping much. I mean, we'll see when we get out, but I think it's good. I think we're safe for 10 minutes.
Good. That's really good. So how was the reg snorkel exchange?
Oh, it's just like before. There's no problems with breathing, no shortness of breath. It's just like before the VAD, so I think we can check that one off.
Excellent.
Finally, a dive that went perfectly. Before going back to the VAD team, I still needed to find some research on operating an LVAD at greater atmospheric pressures. But from a dive standpoint, we had it nailed. I was happy with how our combination of dive, LVAD, and safety equipment were working together, and confident that as an LVAD diver, I was ready for open water.
With our fall VAD clinic just days away, only one obstacle remained. The doctor would certainly want to talk diving, and this would be Larry's last chance to pitch an open water dive before winter. So?
I don't know what we're gonna do. I can't find a thing out there on LVADs under pressure. It's radio silence from the manufacturer. Hate to have to give up on this. You find anything?
No. I've searched for papers using LVAD, atmospheric pressure, ATM, nothing. Just this PowerPoint thing.
What's that?
It looks like a presentation. Some guy with an LVAD had some treatments, but it's not a research paper.
No, but it describes research. And it references other studies. They did their research before trying this on their patient. This is great. It's got all the numbers. I think you found it. This is it.
Hello. How are you guys?
At last, armed with the final piece of the puzzle, it was back to the VAD clinic to present what we had learned. Not only had a VAD been used under hyperbaric pressure before, we found evidence of at least 74 successful treatments at 2.4 atmospheres, along with thorough testing of the system alone at much higher pressures. The time had come to consult with our VAD team and decide if diving open water was going to be possible.
How you been?
I'm good. How are you? You're here.
I'm stable.
Because of you. So you're perfect then.
I am.
Well,
I'm not a real boy, but
You're not a real boy. Why are you not a real boy?
because he's
for a machine, I'm perfect.
Good.
That's the joke. He's not a real boy.
And so, do you want to do the open water dive, or what is the plan?
Yeah, I would. I think I'm ready to go to open water. I can just sort of summarize what we've accomplished this summer. We did pool dive 3 and worked out what I think is a pretty good protocol for diving with an LVAD. Basically, we've ended up the plan is to dive in a team of 3, minimum rescue diver, 1 full LVAD course.
That would be me.
Which would be you, and 1 rescue diver with valid first aid and a LVAD orientation, which is something I'm working on right now. But we've trained up a couple of divers, one specifically who's ready for that. I found some good information finally on hyperbaric use of the HeartMate 2, and I have that with me. I dropped off some copies, but if you didn't get them, I've got.
No, I got them. I have them in my office. Yeah.
And basically, what it looks like is the manufacturer won't say anything. All they do is refer you to studies that have been done at hospitals and universities, but they are out there. And while the device has been tested, not connected to a patient, well beyond this, there appears to be a lot of history of the HeartMate 2 being used at up to 2.4 atmospheres. That seems to be the most of the treatments that have been performed with it were at 2.4 atmospheres. So if you work that out, that gets us 40-some feet. And my suggestion for the first open water dive would be to go no further than half of that. So we kind of thought.
So what is like 5-6 meters then, or what is it?
Yeah. So roughly 3 feet per meter. Yeah. Lake Summerside.
So 20 feet you want to go?
Yeah, Lake Summerside, the bottom is 20 feet and the platform's 18 feet. And we figure half of what looks like an initial safe range would be about 24 feet. So we thought that would be a good choice. It's also within the city. EMS knows where it is. There's power available, and we have exclusive access to it through the shop. Now at this point, they're saying it would probably be a Saturday or a Sunday because
6 meters. Yeah.
So we were kind of thinking of seeing if we could arrange something for a Saturday or a Sunday here before the season ends.
What Saturday, Sunday you guys are thinking?
The earliest one we would be available for would be the one following this coming one. So that would be October October, I need a calendar.
October 5, 6.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know whether you would want to do it the same way as we did the first confined water dive, where we bring a system monitor out and have a peek at my controller after, or whether you feel that's necessary. That's your department.
Well, with the monitor, let me think about it. I think I could do it the 5th or 6th. I would prefer the 5th.
Okay.
Because I'm leaving on the 7th for a trip to Boston.
Oh.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm happy to go with you underwater.
Okay, sounds great.
Okay. Yeah.
So we'll connect with the dive shop, make
Yeah.
sure that's a go.
Yeah.
Will.
I'll text you and let you know as soon as I know something.
So we have to talk about the risks again.
Yeah.
Yes.
We of course cannot recommend it.
You're coming on your own time, of course.
Yes.
And we have to. And like we said last time, if something happened, you can die. Yeah, like that's for sure. If the pump stopped, then we arrive to the emergency room and the pump is not stopping, most likely we will not do an emergency pump exchange, because we also don't think it will really work. Yeah.
So my understanding of it, just to repeat it back, is if the pump stopped in the process of a dive, you would not do an acute pump replacement.
No.
But I would still have access to full medical care as a normal person would in the time following the dive.
Yeah.
If in the subsequent days something happened.
Yeah.
And it's also my understanding that that's almost insignificant, because if I had a pump failure during a dive, I likely wouldn't survive to be able to take advantage of an acute pump replacement.
Yes, so the chance to get you out of the water to the hospital with the pump totally stopped would be very low.
The other thing we've found that the system we have to keep the HeartMate system dry is working extremely well. With every dive we've done, we've triggered intentional leaks, and we've watched how far the water creeps, how well the electronic monitor that we've installed performs, and we've found that the system to keep the HeartMate equipment dry is working really well. But even in the event that we had a catastrophic failure and the system did stop, there is still the procedure of getting me out of the water, replacing a controller, and at that point the pump, from what I understand, would be as likely to restart as it would if you changed a controller under dry land conditions. So to get ourselves into a situation where the pump stopped as a result of this would mean probably doing several very irresponsible things in a row, which I don't plan to do.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
That's why we do that.
So how deep did you go in the pool so far? What was the deepest?
The pool is 10 feet, so about 9.5 feet. But you can call it 3 meters.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we would probably be doubling that in this dive, and we're still staying under half of what this equipment has been used to connect it to a live patient in a hyperbaric chamber. The tests, it's kind of interesting because you don't really have to read the whole report, because if you read my email, I kind of summarize it. But they've taken the hyperbaric tests of just a system connected to a mock circulatory system, way beyond that. And they've even brought it up to the point where the atmospheric pressure triggered the test button by pushing the test button in, and the system continued to function. It just triggered a battery test or
I would prefer not to do this.
Yeah.
I don't think we'd want to go that.
Yeah, and that's
especially
why,
not up here.
Yeah, and that's why they tried that without a live patient.
Yeah.
You know better than I do, about lung pressures and fluid pressures in that part of the body. I'm just a layperson, so I'm sure you have lots of questions about this too. And I don't want to rush this either, because as we take baby steps with this, we can look at the system monitor. I can also closely monitor how I feel, and I can notice if anything different is happening. The one good thing we found with dive 3 in the pool was that was the first dive we did that didn't have any further recommendations. So I got out, I felt normal, I felt great. Our tests for triggering a leak, now they work perfectly. Actually, what we started with for securing the HeartMate system has worked extremely well. My goal was to try and get this to the point where it would be sort of like a free flow in regular diving, where a flood would terminate the dive. It would trigger the end of the dive, but it wouldn't be considered an incident. It's just basically, okay, we swim back, we get out, we get out of the wet stuff before the equipment gets wet, and that has been working extremely well. And my goal with the whole project is to make this as safe as diving is for a healthy person. I mean, every quality of life decision introduces a bit of risk, but I really like being alive, and I have no interest in doing anything where the risk outweighs the benefit to quality of life. So if we get to this and we get to 20 feet and we get back and go, yeah, I can do it, but it doesn't make sense from a safety standpoint to continue to do it, then it was a one-off. But that's what I want to find out, and I'd love to be able to do limited diving, under the protocol that we've put together, in a way that it's safe enough to be a sensible thing to do. And I'm so lucky because I got a cardiologist that knows a lot about diving. So thank
I'm
you.
not sure if I'm so lucky about this. All right, so let me know what the plan is.
Okay,
and then,
you prefer the 5th to the 6th?
I would prefer the 5th to the 6th.
I'll talk
and
to the
then
shop.
I have to let the higher up administration know, of course, and we spoke about the risk and everything, and the plan, and then we go from there.
Sounds good. And if anybody wants to ask questions about how we're doing this and offer input on how we're doing it safely, I can answer any questions. I think most of what I've given you in written form explains, what we've tried to do to make this safe and sensible to proceed with.
Do we still have a HeartMate pump, a mock pump?
HeartMate 2?
Yeah.
Yep. I don't know if it's functioning. Is that what you?
Yeah.
There is a lot of this actually has been done quite thoroughly, which is interesting because let's find this one here. They did quite extensive testing, and that's what they did was they'd set up a mock system, and this just summarizes what they did. So basically, there's 3 cases there that they researched before they moved ahead with their patient, and they brought the system way beyond what they ended up treating the patient at.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Good.
All right. Nice seeing you guys. Otherwise, we do clinic in 6 months.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
I'm hoping we'll be diving in a week.
Yes. Are you joining us?
I'm in Montreal.
So is Boston business? Or?
It's business, yeah. It's all work.
Well, enjoy.
All right, thanks.
Take care.
Thanks. All right.
Finally, everything was dropping into place. After clinic, we headed straight to the dive shop to see if we could book the dive.
Hello.
Good news. Doctor says we're good to go.
That's good. So, I guess the big question becomes, can you do the 5th?
5th will work. We had confined open water that weekend, and then Laura's also having an operation on Friday. So
That's not good.
What, do you think there's any chance we can do it this year?
we could do the 12th.
12. Okay. Let's see what the doctor is doing on.
So how's the summer been for you guys at the shop here?
It's been up and down. Open water's kind of picked up, but gear sales have been slow. So, trying to keep the doors open.
That's always excellent.
Yeah.
We really appreciate your doors being open.
Let's see if he gets back. He's doing clinics today, but I'm kind of hoping that I hope he can do it.
Yeah.
I would love to do it this.
So nice.
I'd love to do it this fall after a year of getting ready for it.
Okay.
He says he's good for the 12th, but not the 13th.
Okay.
That works?
Yeah, that works.
Sweet. All right. I will tell him he's going diving.
Yay!
This
First
is so
VAD dive
cool.
in open water.
This is so cool. Really appreciate this. Thanks, Ken.
No problem.
This is
We couldn't do this
an
without
amazing opportunity. So.
Want to do whatever we can to help.
With both our dive team and our medical team on board, the clock was ticking on the countdown to open water. And after all these months, I really wanted this dive to be a success. Almost every box was checked, but one thing remained. We had never tested our LVAD diving setup with full cold water gear. There's a big difference between a pool dive and open water, especially when diving cold water. You're adding a neoprene hood and gloves and extra insulation to go under the dry suit. This all makes you more buoyant, meaning you also have to add more weights. Lots more weights. The end result is heavier, more restrictive, much hotter, at least until you hit the water, and considerably more physically demanding. Gearing up and getting to the water is often the hardest part of scuba diving. And prior to actually trying an open water dive, we had to see how well an LVAD implanted diver would handle the heat and physical strain of simply getting there. Our plan was to attempt a mock dive. Essentially, do everything you would normally do to perform a cold water dive, except for actually going underwater. This meant traveling to a dive site, unloading our gear, gearing up as a buddy team, assisting each other as necessary, getting to the entry point, and returning, all without incident and without undue stress or difficulty. Gearing up with my LVAD and leak detection system takes longer, and it was going to be hot once we started putting on the gear. So we chose to do our simulated dive later in the day and in a place with shelter from the sun. This would be a consideration for future real dives as well. If you need to run down there and get wet for real, just do it, because we don't want to create an emergency just testing this stuff.
Yeah.
For this test, we chose the Wing Divers Training Facility at Twin Lakes, a familiar dive site for both of us, and one I hope to return to for real someday should the open water dive on October 12th be successful.
There you go. How's that feel?
Good and heavy.
Yeah, good and heavy. That sounds right.
For now, though, it was just an exercise. Unload, gear up, get to the water, then go right back, gearing down and loading it all right back in the truck again.
Okay, if I was actually diving, I'd be set to dive.
All the work and none of the fun. But we needed to try this.
Well, we took it right to the water's edge. And nothing really makes me sadder than to get that close without getting in the water. I'm certainly wet enough. Sweated up the inside of this. Overall, I think it was a very successful dress rehearsal. Well, I think that was a complete success. The main thing I learned was the gear's a little bit more restrictive with the fishing vest and the water detector and the LVAD gear than back when I used to dive. So there's that. Moving around and carrying all of the gear, we did a walk right to the end of the dock just to see how that went. That went better than I thought it would. I thought I'd get more winded if I move slowly. That's not a problem. And how'd it go for you?
Jumped in at the end, as you can see by the wet hair, just to say I got in the water.
I just made my own sweat, so I got wet too, but not with help at the lake.
And not to the extent that the alarms went off.
No, and that was the other thing. I was wondering if sweat would trigger the alarms, but they are closer to the outside where the lake would ingress rather than close to me where I'm perspiring and melting. So yeah, I sweated up a pretty foul storm in there and no alarms. So
Yeah,
so that's a good sign too.
Pretty good, yeah.
You know, the gear's snug on me too because I'm carrying batteries, controller, the water detector and the wiring for the water detector, but you know, I think other than just I'm noticing a little bit less mobility, and I assume I can expect a little less mobility in the water.
Yeah.
That's about it. It's so different from pool diving, really, because you're wearing so much more gear that, I mean, we really kind of have to do a test fit like this.
Yeah. The layers, like adding the pajamas and adding the weight to get down in this kind of environment does make a difference in the overall.
Yeah, I mean, this is cold water diving. It's challenging diving at the best of times. So we want to make sure we've got everything all lined up and checked out before we attempt it on an LVAD.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd call that a complete success.
Good dry run, or in my case, wet run. Dry run.
Mine wasn't really dry either. God, I can sweat.
Yours would be moist run. Good moist run.
Ew. Hi, Larry speaking. Yeah, I'm just looking a minute to find a better place to talk. So how are you doing? Good. So what's up? Oh, that's not good. What happened?
I don't get it. I thought we had this worked out. That you guys were not representing the hospital, but you were free to attend. Not recommended? What does not recommended mean? Does that mean you're not allowed to attend? Well, I certainly don't want you to get in trouble, but I get that part. We've already done the work. I know it won't make much difference. Medically, I'm good, and the dive plan is safe. I just wanted to go diving with you. This is as much your victory as it is mine. Can the VAD team attend? Well, that just sucks. Okay, well, thanks for trying. I will. I'll text you as soon as we're out of the water. You got it. Okay, well, take care. Bye. So the doctor's bailed. He's still doing the blood work the day before, and he's still clearing me to do it, but he's not coming on the dive.
This just isn't fair.
I'm starting to get used to that. That's the sad part.
What about the VAD team? Is anyone coming?
Dunno. He says the result wouldn't be any different. Between all the planning and prep we've already done and the full workup before the dive, he says they've already done everything they can to make it as safe as possible. Doesn't really sound to me like they're coming.
I don't get it. At clinic, everybody was on board.
Well, I'll call Laura and try to figure out what's going on. This was supposed to be about working with your VAD team to reclaim quality of life and make things possible. And for that reason alone, it's important they come.
It's not their fault. Or choice.
It's like they're scared of me. Not the team, but whoever's bugged about this. You know, if I was such an irresponsible patient, how come I've never been readmitted? That's coming up on 3 years. I thought they told us that doesn't happen. Never had a driveline infection, back to work full-time on a VAD. I ski, mountain bike, camp. I've got rock solid, stable blood work that hasn't changed in years. And this great success story and the undoing of the entire VAD program all at the same time. Because someone's scared I'm gonna do something stupid. Do they really think I'd risk my safety and their reputation if I hadn't done my homework?
I wish whoever was making these decisions would just talk to us. Maybe then they'd understand what we're doing and why.
I'm getting a little tired of being misunderstood. You know, it's like they just want you to stay sick. Even if you're lucky enough not to be sick for a while, just stay in your box. Don't ever reach for a bigger piece of normal. You know how many VAD patients are sitting at home on the couch literally dying of depression and scared to reach out to their VAD teams? I mean, scared to even ask to reclaim enough of their lives to make them livable? It's not about getting LVAD patients in the water. I see these people on the forums and it breaks my... Whatever, you know. They feel trapped on a VAD because everything's scary and dangerous. I just want to show that you can still live life. Your VAD team can help you find safe ways to do it. It's kind of tough to tell that story with no VAD team.
social work. This is Laura.
Hey Laura, Larrie Thompson calling. How you doing?
Good, Larry. How are you?
Good, ish. I was just speaking with Dr. Buckholz, and he tells me that he's not able to attend the dive. Are you guys able to come?
No, unfortunately, we won't be able to attend.
Oh man, what happened?
Ultimately, AHS has said that the organizational stance is to not support the dive due to patient safety, and to follow AHS guidelines, they've asked that all employees not attend.
Okay, I thought we'd spent about a year making it safe.
You know, I agree with you. I think the last year you've put in a lot of effort to really ensure that this is safe and have thought of every possible angle and every possible backup plan. And I think ultimately it probably is safe for you to do it. And I think that you would also step away from it if it wasn't safe for any reason.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, I think the organization just overall, they had to make a decision on how to support this, and they feel that putting patient safety above everything else is just where they're going to land on this decision.
Okay. Well, you know, I guess I kind of see it, because even if something went wrong, I would never sue, but it is a litigious world, and I sort of get it. I don't know what I'd do if I was in the big chair, so I guess I keep telling myself that, you know, when I wouldn't do it if it wasn't safe.
Right.
You know,
and I think there has been a lot of conversation happening at our administration level and consultation with Dr. Buckholz around sharing the information from you and sharing the concerns from AHS. And as much as we want to support you with going through with this dive, I think you're right just in saying this is a crazy world, and so they're just going to err on the side of caution and ask us not to attend.
Yeah, I mean, it's too bad, because you guys are my friends. Honestly, that's the big thing. I just you've been a part of this since the beginning. I was really hoping you could be there. I'm satisfied with where we're at for executing this. I'm confident that it's going to go well. I wouldn't get in the water if I didn't think so. I think, you know, even Dr. Buckholz had said that the work is done, but I just, you know, you guys did a lot of the work, and I'll miss you guys.
Yeah, and you know, we really do want to support you and make sure that, coming from the VAD community, that it's so small and the resources are so limited, that if you're chasing your dreams and going after the things that are important to you and give you joy and quality of life, we want to be there to participate in that. But this time around, we'll be there in spirit, and we'll be supporting you from afar.
Certainly appreciate everything you've done up to this point to you know, to make this possible, and I'll miss you guys, but I'll be thinking of you, and I'll let you know as soon as I'm out of the water.
That sounds great. I really look forward to hearing from you and telling us how successful it was and how great it felt being back in the water.
It will be. It will be. I mean, I know that now. I know that. It's just a matter of doing it. But, so I'll let you know how it went. Say hi to the rest of the team for me.
I will. Say hi to Ruth for us.
I shall. Take care. Talk to you in a couple of days.
Okay. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
After months working toward an open water dive, I realized I had become attached to two things that I now had to let go. The first was to share this victory with the people who had helped me achieve it. I wanted to dive with my doctor, and he wanted that too. And I wanted the VAD team there celebrating from the shore, just like the first confined water dive. I also wanted them there to show the VAD community how much your VAD team can do to make life worth living. None of that was going to happen. It wasn't how I wanted it, but really, the part I needed had survived. The dive, barring any further setbacks, was still on. So much of succeeding and thriving on a VAD is about learning to adapt. It's about surviving the bumps, and there are plenty that come your way. It's like a long race you're not sure you can even finish, but every time you start to get close, someone moves the finish line. My attempt to once again dive open water was starting to feel the same way. It's getting late in the season and a change in weather could derail the open water dive at least until spring. Or a health setback. My blood work the day before would have to be perfect. Eat the wrong thing and throw off my INR, and I'd be landlocked. The closer you get, the more stressful it seems to become. But one by one, the days counted down to October 12th, and nothing else bad happened. My eye was once again on the finish line. Dive day was finally here.
I'm Ken Holiday. I'm one of the owners with my wife at LVAD Scuba, and I'm one of the safety divers. It's one of those things I want to make sure he's safe. I know Larry thinks everything through. I've worked with people with disability, and I just want to make sure everything goes right.
My name is Tracy Patterson, and my role today was to lead them on the dive. So to be here and to be in the water, and then to learn that I'm leading was quite exciting. Now I really wish my kids came to watch.
Oh, I'm feeling good. It's a beautiful day to go diving. It's been a long time getting here, and I'm really liking the idea of finally being able to do an open water dive.
It's a first time we've ever done something like this, so in the back of your mind, you're thinking, what if? There's always that what if something goes wrong. So we just want to make sure everything's planned and set.
I'm confident in what we're doing here. I think we have the right plan to be able to do this safely. We've looked at a lot of risks. It's taken a lot of time to do, and I think we're gonna do well on this.
The big difference between diving in the pool and diving in open water is all of my gear is going to be more buoyant.
It's a little deeper, the water's a little colder, visibility's not as good. We've had lower visibility this year because of all the rain and wind we've had. So a little bit of concern especially with the visibility and the cooler water.
I mean, it's cold, but having said that, we have gone skiing with the VAD several times actually, so we know that it can handle cold weather. If done safely and you watch the extremities. We are going to be going a little bit deeper. Larry has done some research on hyperbaric, and he has seen what the research shows what kind of depths we can get to. So we're playing it very safe in this, where we're going less than half of the depth that they have taken his equipment to.
Actually, it's 2 atmospheres under pressure, because there's 1 atmosphere pressure pushing down from the air, and then you've got the pressure underwater.
If this is successful, it means that there's opportunity to do a little bit more diving and research to see if this is something that's doable for any VAD patient.
It gives an opportunity to get part of their life back, that they've had before they ever had an LVAD put into their body.
As well, for me, it gets my dive buddy Larry back in the water, and that's the most exciting for me.
And just to be clear, has this ever been done in the world?
Not that I know of. I've heard of nobody else doing this.
This would be a
first. Yes.
Ultimately, you should probably be doing the briefing because you've got a lot more training than I have, but I know we've discussed this ahead of time, Ken. And really, we're going to try and keep it fairly simple today. There's no point in trying to accomplish too much. A dive is simply a descent and an ascent. So if it just becomes that, we're going to do that. We don't really know what we've got out there for visibility. So if we get out and we're having a good time and everything's going okay, I'll signal you and we'll keep going. We've got a few extra concerns. Because I don't have a pulse, I cool down at about the same rate as everybody else, but I don't warm up as quickly. So we may have some issues with temperature since it's late in the season. The other thing is we've got the water detector in the suit, and I'm going to be communicating what that's doing. When I feel it go, you may hear it, but I'll certainly feel it. So if I get that, it kind of pulses. So probably what I'll do is I'll show you that I've got the water detector and that it's going off. Now, that may not mean an emergency situation. There's a possibility that I'll want to go up. There's also a possibility that I might say I'm okay if I know that it's, say, failed for some reason, that I'm not wet. That's unlikely, but it might be that. I might decide, more likely than anything, I might decide that we're going to turn around and go back. Now, since I understand, Tracy, you're leading the dive, so you know this lake a lot better than I do. By turning around and going back, that may not be following our path back. You may choose another way to get back to egress, more directly. But at that point, I'm wet, but I'm still able to dive. I'm still able to conduct business under the surface, and we're going to try and swim back. That could change if I figure the situation's getting worse. It might be time to go up, but at that point, we'll probably just try to swim out. What else were we going to discuss?
We should talk just a little bit about what the plan is. So we're going down at the buoy on the line.
Ken has suggested swimming out.
We're going to swim out on the surface to the marker.
Okay.
Once you're at the marker, you make sure everybody's okay, and everybody will descend together. You can hold on to the marker. The marker is secure on the bottom, and you can't pull it down. It's a fairly large ball. Once you're on the bottom, it's about 18 feet. You're going to make sure everybody's okay, and then you'll go with the swim.
Sounds great. Does the marker attach directly to the platform?
Yes.
Okay, so with any luck, we can stay off the bottom and not wreck the entire lake.
The bottom, the platform is about 2 feet off the bottom.
Okay, perfect. Sounds great. And the depth of that is 18 feet?
18 feet to the top of the platform.
Sounds good.
And our max depth is 25 feet for the dive.
Yeah. So we're going to try and keep it around 20, not beyond 25. We're good to about double that, but again, baby steps. We don't want to try too much at this point. There's a difference between diving for fun and the risk level that has, and diving as an experiment, which is a higher risk level. We're managing that risk by me having 2 dive professionals that are trained well beyond where I'm trained. If we get to the point where we're diving for fun, it'll be because we figured out procedures to do this safer. So we have to recognize that what we're doing is experimental, and we're not going to get too ambitious. Nobody needs to be the hero. We're here for fun.
We're just here to enjoy
and learn.
the day.
Yeah.
Enjoy the day and do a little bit of diving.
Yeah, learn with little mistakes so that we
have a good birthday.
Yes, exactly.
As I've said before when we got here, Ken, I think it would be foolish for me to wreck being 56 12 hours into the game.
Yes.
So that's not what we're going to do today.
Have a good dive.
We are. I'm so looking forward to this. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for allowing this to happen. This is...
Northwest Scuba, the best.
Pool's open.
All right.
Absolutely.
Boy, this is just first class. Dive master, you're kind of expected to put on your own gear normally.
Don't tell Laura because I don't help her.
Your secret's safe. Don't let her see the video.
So temperature's 46.
It's gonna be chilly. So I'm gonna have to. What's that?
I know.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I don't know how you're handling
you have to
it.
be very aware.
Okay, that should be good.
Very aware of your temperature. Are they spring? Spring loading.
Excellent. We are good.
Good. Okay. Let's just swim out to the platform.
Swim to the platform?
Yeah.
Great.
He's integrated weights. I have a weight card.
belt.
Let me just do a quick weight check here before we get too far. Yeah. Wouldn't get too fat.
That's good.
I think we are good.
Alrighty.
Can
Here
still
we go.
sync with that.
I can sing a song.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Larry. Oh my voice. Happy birthday to you.
The coolest thing ever.
You're right, Bruce. All right. Swim through is not very far.
Okay.
We'll go to the swim through. You'll see it. We'll just swim along top. If you want to write something on there, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back to, we won't stay long. We'll just go there, you write something, you
Yeah.
give me the signal that you're okay and it's time to go, we'll go.
Okay.
We'll come back here. Depending on your temperature, I'll do this. I'm going to ask you if you're okay and you tell me yes or no. We're going to come back to this buoy. If your temperature is okay to go, I'm going to play around with it because I'm going to pull it with us.
Okay.
We're taking it out.
Okay.
If we don't have time for that, don't worry about it. We will either ascend based on your temperature, or we're going to continue. We're going to follow the line, which is off of this corner, straight to the, straight to the dock. And then we'll ascend, and
That will be the world's
Excellent.
first.
Yep, exactly. Any questions, concerns?
Not for me.
No, this is all good. How do you feel about leading a world's first dive?
I was a little surprised that I was leading.
You're the one that knows the like the best.
Yeah. Okay, ready?
See you down there.
Can you give us an update on what's going on?
So right now they're descended. They've landed on the first platform, swam over to the second platform. They're now following a rope that there's a swim through under the water, and they're just going to go out there. Larry's going to write his name on the platform or on the swim through, and then they're going to swim back along the line and come back and follow another rope that goes underneath the dock here. And so everything looks successful so far.
What do you think is going through his mind right now?
If I know Larry, he's ecstatic. He loves to dive. So that's a great birthday for him.
Oh, that was good. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
One small step for disabled diving. One giant stride for VADkind.
That was Good.
Absolutely love it.
That's
This is what quality of life is. It completely is. No alarms.
Nope.
It's like the smoothest dive we've had yet. Thoroughly enjoyed the tour. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for
I was
doing
trying
this
to
for
stay
us.
really close because.
Yeah, I tried.
It's pretty.
Yeah.
I tried drawing a
Not
heart
visible.
and
I saw
LVAD
it. Yep.
down on the swim through.
I saw it.
I
And
got first VAD dive on it.
until we wrecked the lake.
How was that, Larry?
That was fantastic. That was probably, just gonna adjust here so I can speak a little bit better. You'll have to deal with that. It was completely uneventful and completely relaxing and wonderful and enjoyable. I think at this point, based on how this went, I think we can get this to the point where this would be truly a recreational activity. There was no incidents, all of our planning worked. My suit isn't alarming, I'm comfortable. No signs of anything physiologically that we were looking for. It just felt like a fantastic dive. And I'm not cold. I'm not having any issues with my extremities, so this feels very much like it did before the heart attack and before the LVAD. So I'm loving this. This couldn't have turned out better. You know, it might be a little while from the time we've got this all figured out to the point where, you know, there are standards created for it, and you know, and we're able to just kind of do it. But that's, you know, that's something that I would at this point, I think, hand off to experts in the field of cardiac medicine and disabled diving. I think we're at a point now where we can prove that this can be done with a reasonable level of safety. And now we just have to make it become something that would be a normal thing to do.
Hey, Larry.
Yeah.
I'm starting to chill, so I'm gonna head.
Okay. Do you want me to swim in with you?
Sure.
Okay. I'll be back. We'll talk on the shore. Gotta keep an eye on my buddy. How'd you like to dive? Get hypothermic yet? I'm feeling really good, actually. Oh, that felt so good.
Thus ends the first open water VAD dive ever. Smiles all the way around.
Another world's first. You know, and I don't even have to be the first. I just want to dive. But since nobody else did it, all right, I think we owe that partially to Ken, LVAD Scuba.
A lot.
And I appreciate you having the courage to gamble on this, because I think we've done something amazing here today. Thank you.
Well, 3 cheers for Ken. Hip hip, hooray! Hip hip, hooray! Hip hip, hooray! Also to Tracy, great leader.
Tracy, thank you.
That was fun.
Love it. I really enjoyed the tour.
Oh, yes. Good time down there. And I did see your drawing.
Yes.
I did see it.
Thank you.
How did you feel about how the day went today?
It was good. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous being the first, and being involved in all this was quite exciting. And just, you know, I had quite the interest just learning
that someone like him wanted to dive, and it being the first, and just the challenges, so, and all the work that they put into it.
It's an honor to be there with our friends and help him out, being there, making sure he's safe, and to collect the milestone. And once you're a diver, you always want to get back in the water, so it's been a very tough ride for him, and he finally got his wish come true.
It was, I think, a great success. He surfaced, there were no leaks, no alarms were going off.
No, we didn't even get to practice our emergency plan. That was the most relaxing, wonderful, uneventful dive I've had, well, since before the VAD. I guess that's why you do practice. I guess that's why you do the pool dives. So it was funny. I mean, the first dive went pretty good because we did plan it for 8 months. We learned a lot on the second pool dive. There were a couple of things went wrong there, and we were able to modify our procedures a bit. The third pool dive that we did was like this. It was completely uneventful. It was just a fun dive. And I went away from that going, yeah, VAD patients can definitely pool dive. Of course, the big question was, can they open water dive? And wow, if today's any indication, you know, I think we're on the right track here.
He made it so simple, and I think this definitely opens up the door to showing people that, you know, you still can do what you love to do. You just have to find a way around it if you really want to do it.
I think it'd be cool if one day, you know, somebody at another VAD program elsewhere in the world who may have been a diver, or possibly even someone who just wants to try diving, would be able to contact their team and set up something, you know, perhaps through a disabled diving agency at that point, to be able to get in the water and experience this without having to spend 3 years of work to get here. But it feels good, and it's actually kind of cool to have done it first. So I'm a happy guy today. I'm gonna text the doctor.
Yeah, you should text the doctor.
Yeah.
He will be interested on this.
I should take a picture. I should get Ruth to take a picture. Hey, Ruth!
You want a quick group picture?
Well, we've got everyone
We
here
should.
still.
Yeah, let's do it.
Of all the obstacles we overcame to accomplish this giant stride, it's the least anticipated one that feels the most unresolved. That's why this episode has to end with why. When you set out to do something important, you're clear on your reasons. It's easy to forget that others may not understand why you're doing it. The past 3 years have taught me this. I've been referred to as a daredevil, an adrenaline junkie. Even my doctor was asked why someone on an artificial heart would want to go diving. The part that hurt the most was being accused of being reckless with the resources that went into implanting the LVAD, and the hard work of the surgeons and medical professionals who allowed me to continue living past my expiry date. It hurts because being reckless with that gift of life itself is the exact opposite of what I'm doing. We made this safe. I hope this story shows that and proves how hard we work to make it that way. From the moment I woke up with an LVAD, I've cherished this gift. Getting a second chance at life after nearly losing it makes you appreciate living in a way someone who hasn't faced their own mortality can never understand. Since then, I've done my best to squeeze the most out of every day, because as I've said before, this is the bonus round. It almost didn't happen. I've also tried to share this message. That is life on batteries. And its message is that there's a pretty good life to be had post-LVAD. And when people who are well see it, I hope they too think a bit about making the most of each day, because for all of us, our time here is shorter than we think. To all the people responsible for me being here, the doctors, nurses, specialists, technicians, and the leaders and administrators who keep it all working, this is me making the most of the gift you've given me. You have saved a life that is so appreciated. In the intense, stressful world of saving and extending life, it's easy to forget the importance of having a life worth saving. I guess that's understandable because we vanish from view about the time we start to get better. Making this film is my thanks to all of you. When you see it, I hope you see your work being valued, cared for, and nurtured daily to become a life so worth living.